We drove in. Well, if you can appreciate a little bit of the humor, we were thinking, where is this clinic? We couldn't find the clinic, and as we drove along on the highway, we saw all the protesters. Went, oh, that must be it. So that's how we found it. It was easy to, you had to kind of go off and then come back along the way. You would see protesters there. They weren't allowed to block your entrance. You did have to go past them, and they did yell, and they had, one of them had a megaphone, I remember. It was hard, it was difficult.
What was your feelings about the abortion issue before this?
Quite honestly, I hadn't thought much. I would have to say probably generically pro-life, just thinking, well, you know, unless there's some terrible, you know, lethal chromosome that the fetus carries, it's, you know, which is so rare it probably never happens, then, you know, in all cases one should adopt. And in my own family we had adopted, so I kind of knew what it was like to grow up with that.
Take us to the more of the beginning here, where you're elated, obviously, that you're pregnant because you had trouble getting pregnant,
Mm-hmm.
and you find out you have twin. Did you know that you were having twin boys, or was it what?
We knew they were twin boys. We knew that they were twins in one common amniotic sac, so that would mean they were identical, and they looked identical when they came out. I was really, really happy. And we had gone actually up to Wisconsin for a little break before we knew our lives would be so much more complicated with twins, and we went to the house on the rock and walked around there, and then came back for our checkup after that, and that was when we found out that the transfusion was going on.
So the option then for you was what? At that point, they instructed you, we can't do it, but you are going to need someone else.
And that surgeon was very nice. It was a Catholic hospital, but he said, there's no way that these will be, you know, living. There are some threats to your ability to have another pregnancy. That
so you're coming in when you're coming into past the protesters and into Dr. Tiller's clinic. Did you kind of want to say, hey, wait, you don't know our story, you don't understand? Because it's, I mean, you're basically being told that to have this done, and you haven't done anything wrong, and your heart's in the right place.
You basically keep your head down a bit, and, you know, perhaps it's a male thing, but, you know, at that point the priority is my wife, and I mean, there is a part of you that wants to say, you know, no, the baby is not crying, mommy, mommy, please don't kill me, you know, and those things back. That, if anything, I wondered a little bit if they weren't suffering, because, you know, just by virtue of the fact that the heart rates were slow and they were not healthy at that point.
Right. And you talked a bit about Dr. Tiller. Give us a sense of the environment. He was different than you thought.
All along the walls there were just lots and lots of framed letters of gratitude and notes back to Dr. Tiller saying thank you for helping my family, and some descriptions of, you know, yes, afterward we, you know, some also had pictures of, and now we have a child, and here's a picture of the kid, and so forth. And that was a very, I mean, I hadn't expected that. And then a door opened, and we were, again, there was a camera there, so they were seeing us, and we hadn't seen them, and we were ushered in. I had thought it would be like a hospital room. It wasn't. We were triaged, as I mentioned before, with two other couples. I will use your journalistic judgment. One couple was Islamic, and the other couple was from Texas and was rather, shall we say, fundamentalist, very active in the Republican Party. And he said, well, you know, Tiller came in and met with us individually first, and then met with the three of us and explained the situation. He had some videos about what abortion was and what went on, and how many pregnancies do not go to term, that that's just the way that mammals are. He also talked a bit about the services, that there was group counseling if we would like it. And I was kind of interested in that, but the other two couples weren't, so we didn't do it, mainly because we were also different religiously. And then he explained the procedure. We also had to go through the Kansas law required forms of filling out, that yes, we know by a certain time the fetus does this and has that and has these structures and has a heartbeat and so forth. So we signed all of those forms. And
was that tough?
Yeah, oh sure. It was very hard.
Do you remember, was it hard for the other couples too? It would seem like it would be a fairly emotional.
We filled those out individually, so I don't really know.
Yeah.
The other thing that struck me, toward the end there were other couples coming in, and one of them had been flown in from New York City. And it really surprised me that people had to come from such distances to terminate a pregnancy.
And again, with that form, was there anything that you remembered that stood out to you as tough to read? And
feeling pain and the developmental milestones. I'm a psychologist, so I know what the stages of fetal development are. But my reaction was, I realize where legislators are coming from, that they think that someone somewhere is entering into this lightly and without reflection. But it also told me a little bit that I was aware they didn't really have the whole picture, that whoever was writing these laws didn't quite understand.
So then, talked about Dr. Tiller and his bedside manner, I guess, for lack of a better way to describe it, his mannerisms and the way he dealt with every, I would assume, a couple that is going through it.
He had zero interpersonal space. He was very much in front of you. He was very loud. He talked, he didn't shout, but there was no doubt that he was saying things. He had his opinions. He talked a bit about, in between when he would stop by to visit, he would talk about his experiences. He showed me his gun injuries, or someone had tried to shoot him. I told him toward the end of this, as I sort of got the resources, is there something I can do? And he said, well, I've been thinking that I should ask some of the patients to come back and speak, but that's really too much of a stress on them. And I always kind of thought, I always kind of hoped that there would be something more that I could do. And as I heard the legal challenges, this last round with the two physicians signing off on the certificate, the necessity of the abortion, I thought, I really ought to write him a letter. But like many things, I didn't.
You wish you had?
Oh yeah, definitely.
What was your reaction when you heard that he had been killed, and at a church? I was stunned, and I went downstairs to my office to try to find out anything more I could learn about the situation. Strangely enough, Deutsche Welle had a few more things on it earlier. I thought that was odd. There were a few inaccuracies in that reporting. They said he had a hospital, but it wasn't. It was a clinic. I was able to find pretty quickly what church it was and Google that and look at it on Google Maps. And I visited the website and tried to draft a letter that I'm happy to, well, I've already emailed to you, just expressing how great I thought he really was. And I know that's a very sad thing, but I think maybe the reason that I can sit here is because I really feel like I've been touched by greatness.
by a real sense of commitment. And so it's that and gratitude.